Okay, we're going to do a more on the major arcana because the major arcana is so cool. What I did for this little part of the class, or whatever you want to call it, is to go over a little bit of, there are different decks. There's two, well, there's actually more than two. There is another deck that I don't really use, but you'll learn there's two decks that are mostly used, two types of deck, and one is the Rider-Waite-Smith, which is this one, and the other one is the older one before that predated this one, and this is called the Marseille. There's several iterations of both these decks after 1910 and then before 1910. And this goes all the way back to the Renaissance, Italy. They often changed from country to country as people traveled and took their cards. There's a whole history of cards used for playing cards and cards used for divination. So that's a whole other topic that's quite intense. There's a lot of books out there to read if you're so inclined. But we're just going to talk a little bit about this because there's a reason why I want to just show you the deck, just sort of, just for you to see it in comparison. I do like this deck. This is just a majors only deck. In other words, it doesn't have any minors. This deck has the majors and the minors, which are which we haven't gone into yet, but we will. So we're just going to go through the deck, the two decks together, to show you. You can see the similarities from one to the next. These are both major arcanas. This deck, by the way, is this one is the large one is called the Marseille Tarot Lo Scarabeo, and it is the majors. It's a big one. Okay, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, the Lover's card, the Chariot. Now, in the Marseille, they have the 8s and the 11s opposite. So this one in the Marseille is the 8 is justice, but here in the Rider-Waite-Smith, it's strength. Doesn't really matter though. I mean, they are both. This is strength and this is justice. You can tell from the pictures. The Hermit, the Wheel of Fortune. Now again, this is the strength and this is justice. What I probably should do is put them more in order to compare them. If you're so inclined to see it that way. Oops, going the wrong way here. So this would be the strength card. And this would be the strength card of the Marseille. And these are the justice cards that are different. So they're different numbers, but they're the same. They have the same meaning. Justice. Hangman. So you can see there's not a huge variation. Death card. Temperance. The Devil card. The Tower. The Star. The Moon, very similar. The Sun. Judgment, very similar. And the World card. So you see the similarities from a very old deck to the more modern deck, which is modern is the last 110 years. Now, I often, when I want to read, I often read with these if I just want to read with the majors. But today, I'm going to try to read with the majors with the Rider-Waite-Smith. I think I'll do both, just to show you how you can read with both if you choose to. I noticed as I went through them, they're very similar, the pictures, but there's a big difference in when you were reading them. I just noticed it now. I never looked at them together. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our major arcana. This is just pulled from this deck. It's just the majors, so we have all the minors still in there. We will go over the minors next time. So this is just the majors. What we're going to do is we're just going to read the majors. We're going to ask a question. And this time, we're going to use positions. We're going to use positions. So we're going to use current. We're going to use past, present, and future. If you're just working with majors, you just want to use, you're not going to use a big spread. 3 cards is fine. So we're going to use so this is the first time we're going to actually use have a position. And there's all kinds of positions you can have. So we're going to use past, present, and future. We're going to ask a question. And let's see. What should I do to get the job I want? What should I do to get the job I want? Out. We're going to use past, present, and future. So the present's going to be in the center. What can I do to get the job I want? Now we're just using the majors. And as we said, we have, looking at the majors, you can always just look at the pictures to read a card like we did earlier. Or you can go by sort of the titles of the card. So here we have strength. And we have a woman with strength in the past. So maybe this is saying to me, accentuate your positives, accentuate your strengths. Go forward. Since you have strengths, make sure you concentrate on those strengths when you apply for the job. Concentrate on your strengths. Here we go to the present. So the present is she wants to get a job, but she doesn't know she's going to get the job. So there's something she wants to know. What's the key to getting the job? What does she have to do? She's not sure. There's hidden knowledge somewhere. There's things that have been below the surface. And I would say what she needs to do is accentuate her strengths and find out about the company. Learn as much about the company as she possibly can. So I would say, well, you have these strengths, which are good. You want to accentuate your strengths. And there's hidden knowledge. Now, learn as much about the job and the company that you can possibly learn when you go in for the interview. So it's trying to find hidden knowledge. So now we have accentuate your strengths, learn about the company, everything you can learn about the company, and then we go to judgment. And it's like, and then you will be judged or you will make a judgment. It could be then you'll decide if you want the job or someone else will decide if you want the job. Now, you can interpret this any way you want, either way. And I would say, I would read this, if a person's asking me that question, accentuate your strengths, know as much about the company as you like, and be, and actually, you need to evaluate if you actually want the job. So it's like also you have an evaluation to do in the future. Make sure you want the job before you take it. So that's like judge to see if you want the job. So these cards are all about the person who's asking the question. So it always should go back to them. That's how I would read that. Okay, let's do another one. Let's see. What can I ask the question? I'm going to do past, present, and future again. How can I buy a home for myself and my family? What do I need to do to buy a home for myself and my family? What can I do to buy a home for myself and my family? So we have past, present, and future. The past is looking at something from a different perspective. It's sort of saying to me, what do you really want and what do you really hope to get? And what is it in your thinking that is going to make you see things in a different light? And maybe that different light is really honing in on what you really want, and to see if what you really want is out there. So it's taking a perspective, stopping, taking a perspective, see what you want and if it's out there. Here we have the star. The star can be wishes coming true. It can also be shedding light. Once you figure out what you want, you stop, you think about what you want, and you're really thinking about it hard. You're not just, it's not a thought that just comes in your head overnight. Like, oh, I want a big house with stainless steel and all that stuff that people get, and granite countertops and a concrete floor and all that stuff. You really go inward and see what you really want out of a home, and get a different perspective maybe than what you're taking right now. So this is suggesting that you take whatever perspective you have right now, maybe you should look a little further. Now this is shedding light on the situation. So right now we're in this process of evaluation, of learning what it is we really want. And this says to me this, okay, so then you evaluate what you really want. You're getting a new perspective. You're evaluating what you really want. And then there's the World card, which is getting what you want. It's like if once you figure out what you really want and come to a decision, and then it will come to you. You'll be able to afford the house. It'll be in the neighborhood you want. You'll have all the pieces together that will make it happen. But first, there is some evaluation to be done, and then there is some bringing it together. Bringing your wishes, making your wishes come true, and then you'll get the house. So this would suggest to me that maybe what you need to do is not go with your gut right away, but figure out what you want, what you can afford, where you want to live, and then take those steps to make it happen. We'll do one more. And then we're going to work a little bit with the Marseille deck, because the Marseille deck is, I really like working with this with the Marseille deck. What should I do with, how should I deal with a problematic person at work? How should I deal with a problematic person at work? Okay, so you see these cards. How can I deal with the problematic work? We see a lot of interesting cards here. So we see the Wheel of Fortune. That's kind of luck, but it's also fate. It's something that you don't have really control over. Then we have the Death card, which is transformation. It's also rebirth. So it's death, transformation, rebirth. Then we have the Sun card. We have a really good outcome here, which is sunny, a lot of light, everything's going to be fine. So what I would say with this, how should I deal with that person at work? Well, in the past, you just kind of been not dealing with that person at work because you just kind of take it as fate. You haven't taken control of the situation. You've just kind of let that person run you ragged. This would indicate that for me, that's what the Wheel of Fortune is, not just kind of being a victim to fate and not taking charge. The Center card is a Death card. In other words, you're going to make a change. You have to make a dramatic change to transform this relationship you have with this person. And so we would explore what are the things you can do to transform the relationship. I would say, this is also inner transformation. Maybe there's something you can think of changing within, or maybe there's something you can do with changing without too. And so we would explore that with the person. You need to take charge here and transform the situation. And if you do that, you take charge, you're in for a better time with this person. So this problematic person at work can definitely be dealt with if you choose to go in. Maybe it'll be rough in the beginning. Maybe you have to make some tough decisions that you don't want to make. Maybe you're fearful of, how this person's going to react. But that is the way through, is doing that with that person. So that's what I would, how I would read that card. I also would also talk to the person quite a bit about these cards. So this is the Major Arcana of the Rider-Waite-Smith. And that's one way of reading them, and that's with positions. Now we're going to use this deck, which is so funny, this deck. I get a big chart out of this deck. And there's a little difference with this deck. So we're going to talk about the same thing. We're going to read the same question for past, present, future. And this time we're going to maybe ask the same question. How can I deal with this problematic person at work? I'm not sure how these are, if they're shuffled well enough. No, they're not really shuffled. So how we're going to deal with this problematic person at work. Oh, that's not going to work. I'm not sure if they're shuffled well, so I'm just gonna pull them out like this. How can I deal with that problematic person at work? Oh, upside down. Okay, so now we don't have the titles, which is, I guess, yeah, we don't have the titles, but you know, once you get used to these cards, and the pictures say a lot. Here we have the Empress. This is number 3. That is that mother figure, the divine feminine. Here we have the Hangman, who should be this way. So it's looking at things in a different perspective. And here we have the Hierophant, which is the Pope, or the one of the scholar, the scholarly guy. So here we have a deck. I mean, here we have a reading. Is how can I? We have past, present, and future. How can I? The person's asked, how can I deal with that person at work that's problematic? So here we have the Empress, and the Empress, of course, is a divine feminine, and it's a nurturing person, a kind person, a loving person. So maybe the way to deal with that problematic person is to show divine love, caring, nurturing. In other words, not to be angry at the person, not to get upset, but show lead from the heart and show some humanity, some caring. So that would suggest that maybe that's one way to consider. Now the thing is, that may be difficult to do because you've had so many problems with the person. But that's a different perspective. That is taking a different perspective. So in other words, what you're doing now isn't working. But if you turn it over, if you're angry, then be happy. If you're sad, if you're angry, be calm. If you're sad, be happy. So in other words, do something different than what you were doing. And maybe you should be, or this could also mean, I would talk to the person. Maybe the person has been too caring and loving. Maybe the person has to be a little more tougher with the person. Actually, I think that's the past. So the past action is you've been too nice, maybe, and it's time to get a little bit more look at things from a different perspective. And then what the future means is you have this Hierophant, the Pope, and that's learning, that's knowledge. So maybe what you have to do to deal with this person is to maybe not be so nice, look at it from a different perspective, and be more informative. Just in other words, remove the emotions from the situation and just tell them the facts, give them the facts. This is how we do it, and this is what our expectations are. This is how we do it. And then maybe they need to learn more about the job. Maybe the person is kind of lost, and you can teach them something, so then they can go forward. Maybe they're frustrated, and maybe your support isn't enough. You need to actually give them some more information. So I would go with that. Now the other thing about these cards, much more than the other ones, is that these cards, there's a lot of looking, like she's looking over to this guy, and this guy's looking to the future, and this guy is looking kind of at us. Yeah. And that can also be read. In other words, it also could be read as this Empress is looking over here to the Pope, which could mean that however supportive and nice she is, maybe she feels like, no, maybe you have to go over here and get some knowledge and teach them. You have to teach them more to have a better relationship with the person because this person's looking over here. There's a lot more glances and a lot more body positions different with this deck than the other deck. And he, meanwhile, is looking toward the future. This is the future card looking to the future. So there's something to be learned, some aspect of training or education that should be part of the future of this relationship. So there you go. You're reading. I'm reading two different kinds of decks. You see what you like. Now this is just to show you what this deck is all about, and that there are, when you ever see these, you may wonder, what is this? What is this stuff? And this is this is the decks that were around, the Marseille deck that was around before the Rider-Waite-Smith was around. Anyways, that's that. Again, this is this deck, and this one is the Wise Spirit deck. This is a beautiful deck. Just came out this year. Beautiful packaging. So I hope you have found this helpful. I hope I wasn't too confusing. I just wanted to talk a little bit about their Marseille. Anyways, have a great day.